Right now, your ex may act like they couldn't care less. They're unfazed, unbothered, and maybe even enjoying their life like you never existed. But let me tell you something. Appearances can be deceiving. People always take you for granted until they can't have you anymore. They believe the door will always be open, that you'll always be an option. But what happens when that option disappears? What happens when you elevate beyond them and they no longer have access to you? That's when the regret creeps in. That's when the weight of their choices finally sinks in. Steve Jobs once said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." The same applies to your personal transformation. The moment you stop waiting for them to recognize your value and start creating a life so powerful that they can't ignore you, that's when everything shifts. They will care. They will notice. But by then, it will be too late. Your absence is a vacuum they never expected. You see, people rarely appreciate what they have until it's gone. It's a lesson history has proven time and time again. Muhammad Ali said, "I'm gonna show you how great I am." And that's exactly what you're about to do. Not through words, not through begging, but through your undeniable evolution. The Keith Lee effect is real. It's when the quiet one, the underestimated one, the one they thought was just average, suddenly becomes the most sought-after presence in the room. When you level up, you shift the balance of power. Your ex thought they had control over your emotions, your worth, and your self-esteem. But here's the truth. Power is never taken, it is only given. And starting today, you stop giving it away. You reclaim it. You turn your pain into motivation, your silence into strategy, and your loss into your greatest comeback. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So why would you keep granting them that permission?" It's time to revoke their access, to move in silence, to build so much that by the time they look back, they don't even recognize the person you've become. And trust me, they will look back. The biggest flex is not proving them wrong. It's becoming so successful, so fulfilled, that their opinion no longer matters. This isn't about revenge. It's about self-mastery. Kobe Bryant said, "The most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great in whatever they want to do." And today, I want to inspire you. I want you to see your worth, not through their validation, but through your own undeniable greatness. You were never just an option. You were the prize. So, here's my challenge to you. Don't let this moment slip away. If you're ready to step into the highest version of yourself, watch this video until the very end. What I'm about to share will change the way you see yourself, your ex, and your future. This is your turning point. This is where you rewrite the narrative. Now, before we dive in, drop this mantra in the comments. I am the prize. Let the world, and more importantly, yourself, know that you're done being overlooked. You're done waiting. You're done settling. It's time for the next chapter. Let's begin. Key point 1. Your value increases in your absence. The biggest mistake people make after a breakup is believing that their absence won't be felt. But here's the truth. When you remove yourself, you create a void. People don't appreciate what's always available. It's human nature. We chase what we can't have, and we take for granted what's easily accessible. Right now, your ex might not care. They might be out having fun, acting like you never existed. But just like an addictive song that suddenly disappears from the radio, your presence, or lack of it, will eventually echo in their mind. They'll start wondering where you went, what you're doing, and more importantly, why you're not chasing them. Look at history. Some of the most iconic figures were ignored or underestimated until their absence made the world take notice. Think of Nikola Tesla, whose genius was dismissed in his lifetime, only for the world to later recognize his brilliance. Or Vincent van Gogh, who was unappreciated while alive but is now one of the most celebrated artists of all time. The lesson: people don't always see your worth immediately, but that doesn't mean you aren't valuable. In relationships, absence creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value. When you disappear, when you focus on yourself instead of them, their perception of you begins to change. They start to feel the difference between having you and not having you. And trust me, that realization will hit them harder than any words ever could. So instead of begging for their attention or seeking closure, do something unexpected: vanish. No long paragraphs, no emotional breakdowns, just silence. Because in that silence your power grows, and when they finally come back looking for you, they won't find the same person they left behind. A key point: 2. Silence is your most powerful response. When someone leaves or takes you for granted, the instinct is to explain, to argue, to prove your worth. But here's the hard truth: words won't change their mind. If someone doesn't value you now, no amount of pleading will make them see what they refuse to acknowledge. What will make them notice? Silence. Silence is powerful because it forces reflection. When you stop responding, you remove their ability to manipulate the situation. They no longer get the satisfaction of knowing how you feel, and that uncertainty eats at them. Suddenly they wonder, are they upset? Have they moved on? Do they even care anymore? That's when they start to question their decision. Sun Tzu, in The Art of War, said, "The greatest victory is that which requires no battle." You don't need to engage in arguments, send long messages, or prove your point. The most powerful statement you can make is removing your energy entirely. People expect a reaction. They depend on it. But when you give them silence instead, you disrupt their expectations. Look at the most respected figures in history: leaders, revolutionaries, and even elite athletes. They don't respond to every critic. They don't chase validation. They understand that their energy is too valuable to waste on people who don't appreciate it. The same principle applies to you. When you stay silent, you shift the power dynamic. You're no longer the one chasing or seeking closure. You become the one in control. And when your ex realizes they no longer have access to your emotions, that's when they'll start to care. But by then, you'll have already moved forward. Key point 3. Your growth will make them regret losing you. At this moment, your ex may believe that walking away from you was the best decision they ever made. They may feel confident, thinking you'll stay the same, stuck in the same place emotionally, mentally, and physically. But what happens when you flip the script? What happens when you take all that energy you once gave to them and invest it into yourself instead? The answer is simple. You evolve. And nothing haunts people more than realizing they lost someone who became better after they left. Think about it. Why do so many celebrities, athletes, and business moguls have exes who suddenly start reminiscing after they've made it? Because success forces people to re-evaluate their choices. The moment you begin leveling up, hitting the gym, chasing your dreams, making money, and improving yourself. Your ex will feel the weight of their decision. They will see you becoming the version of yourself they never imagined you could be. Jay-Z once said, "People will love you, then hate you, then love you again." Your ex might be indifferent now, but that indifference will fade once they see the new you. Because the truth is, most people don't want to see you do better without them. They want to believe they were the best thing that ever happened to you. So here's your mission. Instead of seeking validation from them, build a life so good that they can't help but regret leaving. A life where they no longer have access. A life where you are the prize and they are just a memory. And when they finally realize what they lost, it won't matter. Because by then, you'll be too busy winning. Key point 4. They will see you everywhere, even when you're gone. Right now, your ex may think they've moved on. They might be dating someone new, living their life as if you never mattered. But here's the thing. People don't just disappear from our minds. When someone has been a significant part of our life, their energy lingers. And the more you pull away, the stronger that presence becomes. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect. Our minds fixate on unfinished business. When something is unresolved, we keep returning to it, even when we don't want to. Your silence, your absence, your lack of reaction, these things will haunt your ex far more than any text or argument ever could. They will start to see you in unexpected places, your favorite song on the radio, your scent on an old sweater, a joke they once laughed at with you. It's in these small moments that the realization starts creeping in. You're gone, and they can't get you back. Michael Jordan once said, "Some people want it to happen. Some wish it would happen. Others make it happen." Your ex may have wanted to replace you. They may have wished they could move on easily, but their mind won't let them. Because deep down, what they thought was a temporary separation is now becoming permanent. And the best part? You don't have to do anything for this to happen. Just keep moving forward. Keep building yourself. Keep becoming someone they no longer have access to. Because once they realize they can't have you back, that's when the regret truly sets in. Key point 5. The person who cares less has the power. One of the harshest truths about relationships is this. The person who cares less has the most control. It's not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about emotional discipline. When you no longer react, when you no longer crave their validation, you shift the entire power dynamic. Right now, your ex may feel like they're in control. Why? Because they believe you still care more than they do. They think they can come back whenever they want, that you'll still be there, waiting. But the moment you genuinely stop caring, when you stop watching their stories, stop checking up on them, stop wondering what they're doing, you take all that power back. Warren Buffett once said, "The most important investment you can make is in yourself." And that applies here. Instead of investing your emotions in someone who walked away, invest in your own growth, your peace, your success. When you do that, something interesting happens. Your ex starts to feel the shift. They sense that they're no longer a priority in your life, and that bothers them. Because, let's be honest, people want what they can't have. The moment they feel you slipping away completely, they start craving the attention they once ignored. They start wondering why you no longer care, and that uncertainty makes them uneasy. This is why emotional control is your greatest weapon. When you detach, you become untouchable. You no longer operate from a place of desperation or need. You operate from a place of power. And when your ex realizes they've lost that control, that's when they start to care. But by then it's your decision whether they're even worth your time anymore. Key point 6. They will compare everyone to you, and no one will measure up. Your ex may think they've moved on. They may even be with someone new. But here's what they don't realize yet. You set a standard that no one else can replicate. At first, the new relationship might feel exciting. It's fresh. It's different. It's a distraction. But distractions fade, and reality always catches up. They will eventually notice the little things. The way the new person doesn't laugh at their jokes the way you did. The way the chemistry isn't quite the same. The way the connection feels forced instead of effortless. And that's when the comparisons begin. They'll start remembering how you made them feel, how you were patient when they were struggling, how you supported them when no one else did, how your energy was something unique, something they took for granted. Drake once said, "They don't make 'em like you no more." And that's the truth. Your ex may try to replace you, but you aren't replaceable. They will look for someone who can match your vibe, your energy, your presence. But they will never find an exact copy of what they lost. Psychologists call this the rosy retrospection bias. People tend to remember the past more positively than it actually was, especially when they realize they can't go back. And when they finally come to that realization, it'll be too late. Because you will have already moved on to something better. Someone who sees your worth from the beginning. So let them think the grass is greener. Let them run after the next best thing. Because sooner or later they'll realize that what they had with you wasn't just normal, it was special. And once they figure that out, they'll never be able to look at anyone the same way again. Key point 7. They will wonder if you ever really cared, and that will drive them crazy. Right now, your ex may assume they had you figured out. They might think you're heartbroken, waiting, hoping they'll come back. But when you stop showing signs of pain, when you stop reacting, stop reaching out, and genuinely move forward, they'll start questioning everything. And here's the irony. When someone assumes they meant the world to you, and suddenly you act like they never existed, it creates a psychological imbalance. They start wondering, did they really love me as much as I thought? Were they just pretending to care? Did I actually mean anything to them at all? This is called reverse validation. The moment they realize they no longer have an emotional hold on you, they start craving the reassurance they once took for granted. They expected you to be hurt, but your indifference? That shakes them to their core. Look at some of the most successful people. Athletes, artists, business leaders. When they experience setbacks, they don't sit around waiting for validation. They keep moving. And the same applies here. The moment you treat them like just another person instead of someone special, you disrupt the narrative in their mind. They thought they left you devastated. But when you carry yourself with confidence, happiness, and zero attachment, they start realizing, maybe, just maybe, they were the ones who cared more in the end. And that realization? That's what keeps them up at night. The power shift is complete. Now it's your move. Let's be real. Your ex may not care right now. They may be living like you never existed. But as you've learned today, that will change. The silence, the absence, the growth, it all adds up. And when they finally realize what they lost, when they start feeling that emptiness, it won't be because you chase them. It will be because you became someone they can no longer reach. By now, you understand the truth. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You don't even need them to care. Because the moment you start focusing on yourself, everything shifts. The regret, the comparisons, the realization, they will happen. But by then you will have already outgrown the version of yourself that needed them in the first place. So ask yourself, what comes next? Will you sit around waiting for them to notice? Or will you walk into your next chapter so strong, so confident, so unbothered that they become nothing more than a memory? Because that's the real Keith Lee effect. You were underestimated, overlooked, maybe even discarded. But instead of breaking, you leveled up. And now? Now they have no choice but to watch from a distance. Because access to you, that's a privilege they no longer have. If this message resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop this mantra in the comments. I am the prize. Let the world, and more importantly yourself, know that your worth is not determined by their recognition. It's determined by your own growth, your own confidence, and your own future. This is your moment. This is your power. Now go claim it.